Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today I am privileged to be joined by Rabbi David Oppenheimer, Rabbinic Coordinator for the Chicago Rabbinical Council. Thank you, Rabbi Oppenheimer, for being here once again.
Thank you very much for having us.
Today I'd like to discuss the topic of chocolate with you. There are a lot of kashrus and halachic related issues when it comes to chocolate, but one particularly very interesting component of the kashrus of chocolate has to do with the kashering of chocolate factories. First, tell us, there's kosher chocolate, there's dairy, there's parv. Obviously, to us in the frum world, it's very important to know what's what and how it's done. So, typically speaking, first of all, are most chocolates that are under kosher supervision, are they made in kosher factories or are they sheared with, with
There's
larger
very
factories?
little nowadays. The kashrus has, Baruch Hashem, exploded so much that any company, a large company of chocolate that wants to market their products will request hashgacha.
Uh-huh.
There may be smaller chocolatiers, local.
But I meant the larger companies, they own their own factories?
Yes.
They own their own factories. And are they producing dairy chocolate and parva chocolate on the same lines?
We do not recommend that. Mm-hmm. It's very, very difficult. The biggest challenge is that chocolate and water do not get along. They don't get along. They do not want any water.
Meaning they don't mix?
They don't mix and they ruin the chocolate.
Uh-huh.
Even small drops of chocolate, of water, will ruin the chocolate. So therefore, companies that do not want to have any
water running through the system.
Running through the system.
Typically speaking, theoretically, if you were able to clean the machines and then run water through it,
that would be an eitzah.
That would be an eitzah, but you're saying, first of all, they would lose time, effort, the money involved. It's very difficult to do. First of all, difficult to clean the machines. And you're saying even a drop of water could ruin the consistency and the quality of the product.
Correct. So they're not interested. That's not something that's going to fly by them.
Uh-huh. But what's the alternative? Here's the kashrus expert.
Okay.
What do you do?
In the olden days, there was this concept of kashering with chocolate.
Right.
Everybody heard about it. I think a lot of people heard about it.
Yeah.
The problem is, shar mashkim, we don't recommend, the Rama says shar mashkim should not be used, but b'diavad it works. But chocolate has a little, Rav Belsky, the Chayim held that chocolate is not a mashke. Because in an ambient situation, it's hard. It becomes hard. So
if you leave it alone. If you leave it alone also, right? It hardens.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, it does not qualify. For kashering.
Even though at high temperatures, it's liquefied, right? That's.
Well, typically chocolate melts about 98 degrees, 100 degrees. Try it out. Put your chocolate in the car. A little trip. By the time you come out, it's all melted, right?
Right.
But I call him that this is not going to work. We will not accept chocolate as a means of kashering.
So what's the eitzah?
So the real only eitzah is, the ideal eitzah is to have separate lines. Now separate lines also, we have to realize that chocolate companies, they usually have shared steam.
Mm-hmm. Meaning even if the lines are separate.
So that's right. So the steam, they use the steam to heat up the pipes, and then, because obviously when they want to work with the chocolate, it has to be liquid, and they have to keep it at 110, 115 degrees at least. And then the steam returns to the boiler and comes out again. So it comes out as shared. So that's not ideal either. So
but it's not that they're running simultaneously, right?
Even if they're not, but it's the same water. It's the same water that went back to the boiler. So even if you don't do it simultaneously, at the end of the day, it's the same water.
There's no way to clean out the water and produce new steam?
Well, yes, you could empty out the boiler. I have it in a different company, not in the chocolate company, where they actually empty out the boiler.
They do?
Yes. They do that, but the large companies are not going to empty out
costly,
the boiler.
Time,
right?
It's a problem.
You have to keep track of it. It's not so easy.
Not so easy.
So the eight says that we have something called a paigim. We put a paigim into the water. There's something called the brand name of is bitrix. The chemical name is very long, and I don't remember it. But the normal brand name is bitrix. Is considered the most bitter product, most bitter chemical in the world, and you put some of it into the water, and the water is pogum, and therefore they're no longer, the tam is not considered a tam.
And obviously,
really.
the davar apogim, whatever this is, doesn't ruin the quality of the product,
No,
obviously, right? Because it's negligible. It's not.
That's right. And the Goyim, truth is, Goyim can understand this whole idea of blias, of things, they tell, what do you mean? It doesn't touch the product by any imagination. We say, understand, but in kosher law, it's the concept of the flavor going through, and, try to explain it to a guy the best you can. But
Right.
but that's the idea. So ideally, we should have separate lines. There is an hashgachos. I mean, you could do it, because chocolate really, if it could run just about 110 degrees, 150 degrees, you could work with it, okay, and it's workable. So if you, now, as we said, cleaning it doesn't work, there's something called a flushing. You should run the companies have milk chocolate and dark chocolate, right? So dark chocolate doesn't have milk, okay? So you run thousands and thousands of pounds of dark chocolate until you could ascertain that all the chocolate is out of the pipes, and whatever remains is dark chocolate, and then you start running your kosher chocolate.
And then you do your parve.
Then you do your parve. You keep the temperatures below Yatzoledes.
I was going to ask you about the blias in the walls of the pipes.
That's right.
You don't have blias of dairy chocolate?
No, because you keep it below Yatzoledes.
Even when you produce the dairy, you keep it under Yatzoledes?
No. When you do
the parve.
So therefore the blias don't come out. Right? So keep it Yatzoledes. You have to make sure that when it runs into the tank, it doesn't stay kovush, it doesn't stay 24 hours in the tank. You have to keep track of that. And then, if you really want to be good at it, you send the chocolate to a lab to make sure
to test it,
make sure there's no milk in there.
And that's sufficient as far as halachic concerns. I can imagine from an allergen standpoint that would be sufficient.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you, even parve chocolates from the best hashgachas have allergen statements.
They do.
They do have
that it's produced in a dairy.
And they have an addition. It does not affect the kosher parve status. Okay, fine hashgachas do that because they don't want to take a chayes when it comes to allergens. It's impossible to guarantee that a minimal. But in halacha, it's kedach hamechabsim. There's a concept called derech hamechabsim. As long as it's considered clean, that qualifies. It shouldn't be called a question of bittul, so that qualifies for that. So
any final thoughts on this topic?
Yes. Very often they call me questions. It's dark chocolate. There's no milk in the ingredients. Okay, is it parve?
They want to know if they could serve it with fleishig meals.
Not everybody's the different levels of hakpada on milk. Okay, either for fleishigs or people are not makpid on chalav akum. If it's butter, they'll be happy with it, right? Then also there are many in the yeshiva shul maybe who are saimach on that based on Moshe Satzes, at least for bittul, they're comfortable with it. So they ask me, well, there's no milk. Is it butter? So the answer is, it really depends. It really depends. If whatever they ran before, the chocolate is very, you work with a lot of chocolate. They put in, there are many different levels of cocoa butter or cocoa liquor, more milk, less milk. If the product before was one either dark chocolate or very low level of milk, most likely it was butter. If the product before was a very high level milk, 25% milk of 8, then most likely the milk is not butter. So for me, it's very hard to answer. Obviously, we don't monitor those kind of things.
Why would that matter in a scenario where you flush the system and then produce parve under Yatzoledes?
No. In the kosher style, if you ran parve, then you made sure that's right.
Right.
But people call me, well, it's dark chocolate. Could I be saying like it's bottle? People ask me this all the time.
Is it dark chocolate under hashgacha?
Yeah. But we're not declaring as parve. We're declaring as milk, or their equipment, whatever it is, right? So they want to know, is it bottled or not? The answer is, there's no way there is a way to know. If I got start sitting every time and checking what was run before, what's the percentage, for if I'm going to start doing that for every consumer, it'll be a little bit too difficult.
Right.
So therefore, there's no way to know that.
Got it. Well, thank you again for being here. Fascinating discussion, and continued hatzlacha in your avodas hakodesh. Thank you.